If you walked into the club tomorrow as a head coach, what is the first thing you are looking to fix? G'day everyone, welcome to the Eddie and Jimmy podcast. This is the Ask Eddie and Jimmy Podra, where we answer your questions. Email Eddie and Jimmy at tappedmedia.com.au. Make sure you find us on YouTube and Instagram. Just search Eddie and Jimmy. Thanks to Fiji Airways and Hyundai. Hyundai, you can do big things in the new Alexio. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today. And Fiji Airways. Visit FijiAirways.com to book your flight to Fiji and beyond. Fiji Airways, where happiness takes flight. Each week we want to hear from you. What are your questions, ideas and thoughts on the game? Eddie is still flying around the world with Fiji Airways at the moment. He is guts up somewhere, getting a beautiful suntan, which means Sam Docherty, we have the honour of Sam Docherty joining us again. How are you, Sam?
The honour. Yeah, I like
it
that.
is, mate. You've been fantastic. We get heaps of feedback about you on this podcast, so we have to keep dragging you back.
That's okay. I've got a little enough spare time. Gets me out of my house and away from my kids, which is always nice.
You might change your mind after I ask a few of these questions at you. We get some great questions, and as we said, make sure you go to Eddie and Jimmy at tappedmedia.com.au. Hey, Michael from Gold Coast, he called it the Gold Coast curse. I want to start a conversation about the success of sports on the Gold Coast. It is a bit like the Bermuda Triangle there. With the Suns back in no man's land and heading backwards, can we figure our way to help them? Is it something in the water or a location factor? It's not good reading for any team in any code when you only have a handful of finals appearances and no titles to show for it. Well, the AFL has given them assistance packages in recent times. So why has there been very little success on the Gold Coast?
Not sure.
Come on.
I don't know. It's a lovely place to live, beaches, nice weather. But maybe it's just the progression of the team, and they obviously came into the competition, went in with a strategy. That strategy didn't work. They're kind of on the reset of that strategy into a new group. We are watching a down period for, this is just the AFL code, but the down period for the team at the moment off their first finals win last year. I'm not convinced it'll last long term. I actually think they've got enough talent up there they'll be able to turn this one around. But ultimately, it's if you look at the Brisbane example, they won flags, went through a rough period, built their list and culture back up, and then have competed for a long period of time. It's only an hour and a half up the highway. So I don't think it's specific to Queensland and the Gold Coast. I think that it's just about the management of the team and being able to run this group through and making sure that it can perform.
Yeah, and this probably won't answer your question directly, Michael, but it's picking up a bit where Sam's going. We're starting to see the investment in Gold Coast, and it doesn't translate just yet to on-field success, but their junior football numbers are good, and a lot of people go, that doesn't mean anything. We're talking about AFL. But the fact is that we've had so many in recent years of kids from out of the Gold Coast and Southeast Queensland going into the draft. Now, that'll continue to build, which then will eventually get to a period of time where the ones who don't get drafted are either going to be Gold Coast supporters, which then gets you another generation through, which then things start to come into play like go home factor.
Go home factor to the Gold
Coast, yes. And so that'll start to flow into the game. The depth coming through Southeast Queensland, that will then eventually translate, hopefully, to the Gold Coast Suns. It certainly, Brisbane Lions have been able to do some really good things. Because people forget, Eric Hipwood and Harris Andrews are Queenslanders as well, and they've had some pretty good Queenslanders over the journey. So it'll be how they get, and you touched on this on Monday's podcast, Sam, how do you push hard enough and then let the guys go who aren't buying in, and are you willing to be brave enough to go backwards at times, but then long-term go forwards and have sustained success?
There's that side of it, and there's obviously smart list management on the other side. You look at what, and I know I'm drawing to Brisbane because they're successful right now, and we're probably in this build for a little while, but attracted Lockie Neal, attracted Dane Beams, Lincoln McCarthy, they started to get talent go up there and be able to sell the lifestyle. There's a part where this will start to happen with Gold Coast. We're just seeing Christian Petrarca go up there. So there's the multifaceted list build. There's the internal talent. There's the draft. There's growing the group and culture. Then there's being able to get some free agents to pop up later in their career to come up and assist. I'm not fully stressed about Gold Coast. They're not playing good footy at the moment. We discussed that on Monday. But I'm not, for their long-term prospects, I think they're going to be up the top end of the ladder for the next few years.
Thanks for that, Michael. Steve, the big American, the Dockers have to include Mason Cox in their grand final side. He has no pressure anxiety. What do you guys reckon? the thing that stood out to me for big Meso on the weekend was his follow-up work. He looked really, really nimble. He's incredibly nimble for a guy his size anyway, but that's what jumped out to me. And he does win hit-outs. He can actually play as a forward, and he looks a good combination, which now, obviously, the discussion is Jackson and Cox or Jackson and Darcy. They look pretty settled with Mason Cox.
Yeah, I'm probably in the camp of playing Mason. Just I think it's an underrated skill that I don't have any numbers on this, but very rarely outmarked because he's so big. The best case you've got, a lot of defenders, the best case you've got to him is get the ball to ground.
Chop his arms.
That's well, it's either give a free kick away, he marks it, or the ball goes to ground. It's very rarely he's getting intercepted against. So that becomes a really big asset for that Freo forward line to give them a target if they have to kick it long, because a lot of their other forwards are a bit lead up. They're lead up players like Tracy. He can take a contested grab, but Pat Voss and Jai Amos, and not particularly big, tall forwards that you're kicking them to a 1v1. So he provides that focal point in the forward half where you can kick it to him, you get a contest, get their smalls at work. I think he suits the way they're playing. Sean Darcy, I would say, is a better ruck, but are you picking your second ruck as a better ruck or a better forward or a better around the ground? I'm probably picking more towards Mason Cox's side, which is, I wouldn't have said that at the start of the year, but they just look a little bit better when he's in there.
No, he looks in good touch, big Mason. Troy, Thursday night footy. I'll start this by saying I'm not a fan of Thursday night footy. Oh, that's a strong start, Troy. But even more so when the game is scheduled on a Thursday start at 8:10 p.m. He's yelling at us in this one. He's got the exclamation mark going. Even a 7:30 start is too late for a Thursday night game. Could the AFL not schedule Thursday night games to start at 7 p.m? Kids have school the next day and I have work.
Here.
I do prefer a 7 o'clock start, but mate, and that's just me. I understand that the 8:10s are always in Perth, and there's the time difference is to get people at the game, etc., etc. But can I raise the counter to that? If you know there's only one Thursday night game,
you can schedule in your diary.
There's that many people working from home.
No, I'm 100% with that.
If you know in 4 weeks' time, I'll put it this way: if you know in 4 weeks' time Carlton is playing on a Thursday night, you're going to probably plan around leaving the office early, aren't you?
Yeah, you could probably clear a little bit of your afternoon and sneak out, I would have thought.
Yeah.
But I'm a massive fan of Thursday night footy. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But I'm not a fan of how late footy is just in general.
Yeah. I think we're both the same. We're both very much old men.
Yes, old men. And it's good for the kids, like
the kiddies.
Kids, so they can watch
or as Eddie calls them, the kiddies. Yeah. Why don't we think of the kiddies? No, I'm with you. I think 7 o'clock, and also can we just cut the primetime games where they're not overlapping with other quality games?
Yeah.
Good suggestion, Troy. George, technology. I've finally come to the conclusion that modern technology is ruining sport. It has made the World Cup unwatchable with the amount of stopping and starting just to check whether someone's a millimetre on or offside. It happens in the AFL all the time, whether it's to check if someone has got a fingernail on the ball or to determine whether the ball has fully crossed the line or not. Do you think we'd be better off ditching the tech altogether? It would save time and stop killing momentum. All right, do you want the cliche answer?
You go first.
The genie is out of the bottle. Because what will end up happening is something will thump into a post in a grand final, or a ball will be touched off the boot, and we'll go, hey, we had technology. Why didn't we use it?
Yeah.
But we just have to invest correctly.
Yeah, I think that's the point. And I'm probably less on George's side in terms of the checking for a millimetre over the line. And I've enjoyed the World Cup in their ability to have the tech to get the right answer. It does slow down the game, which everything else in our game is about speeding it up and having less time on screen and et cetera, et cetera. But I'm big in the camp of investing further into the arc, into the vision and the cameras. I know there's a lot of new cameras coming in. I'm not going to try and dissect what the differences are in all of them, but apparently the tech's getting better. But ultimately, for this, in terms of scoring, and I think it's good for the game to have it, but it needs to be better than what it is.
Yeah, I'm with you there. You can always hit the hashtag Ask Eddie and Jimmy. Warren was said where to start. Oh, I feel for him already. Another round, another Essendon disappointment. I'd love to ask the two of you, if you walked into the club tomorrow as a head coach, what is the first thing you are looking to fix?
Defense. Defensive system is for me.
You can coach defense quicker and easier.
And it's multifaceted in its approach, but making sure the team knows what they're doing defensively, I think you really, for the whole of the preseason, that's what you focus on.
Yeah, development fundamentals. You want to be hammering that, and it doesn't matter whether you are a first-year player or you've been there for 12 years. We're going to wind it back and nail those, because you can't do anything if you can't just hit simple targets, or you don't know what a press-up is in defence, or you're folding back. So the fundamentals of the game. And you want it clearly, and this is just what I've heard from around the traps, is build the connection back in the club. And if that means the old school, you and I watch a lot of American sports, the NFL coaches and basketball coaches, be the first person in there. Go and get to know everybody, from the lady who's made the salad rolls to the CEO, the recruiter. It needs to be connected and united, and that's where I'd start to build if I was there.
Yeah, no, and exactly right. I think, and some of the things when you're going through these really tough years, they're a big part of it, and it's sometimes at the mercy of performance for connection. Yeah. So a camp, for example, and we've done this across my career a few times, rather than going on a footy camp where you get flogged on the track 3 or 4 days a week and it's just all out exhaustion, take the group away for a week. You maybe do 2 lighter training sessions, but you do things that are team building. You go and sit by the fire and have a couple of drinks around the fire. Show that it's a more relaxed environment. I know you might think that's counterintuitive in terms of, no, they need to be on the track more, they need to do more footy. Sometimes the connection is built through things that are not football, and that might be a big part of what they need to build in this preseason. Yeah,
and there's a couple of things, and I always use the whiteboard as an example. Technology now, you're more up to it than I am, as we've had some chats before. But there's some big headline things that you could put up, and purpose is a big one. So what is the purpose of what we're doing? And you've got to have purpose in everything. So what is the purpose of me doing this gym session? Like, what am I getting out of it? And as soon as you get people in that mindset or that frame of thinking, you can actually have impact in every single session, because you've got a limited amount of time. So what is the purpose of us doing this training drill? What is the purpose of us doing this session? Because sometimes you can roll into, we've got a 90-minute session. All right. But what is the actual, every drill has to have a purpose of what you're building. And I'm not saying Essendon are not doing this, but we've just got to ask what you do. Right. What is our sole purpose of every single session that we're doing? And then also call it 60 or 80 games, they might be further back, 80 games to winning a final. Because that's the biggest target and goal for Essendon. So every decision has to be coming back to that. So whether we're playing a certain style defensively, the way we're moving the football, the way we're making recruiting decisions, the way we're making trade, free agency, the way we're structuring our football department, is back to that. And don't get distracted, because you can get distracted so easily. Like you say, ooh, bright light over there. Let's bring this in, or let's do this, or let's pivot. No, just bring it back to that. So they're just some call it your top of whiteboard headliners, if you will. If you get the extra thick marker out and you put it in,
they're the permanent ones.
Permanent marker, but it can just streamline your thinking. And then you have, as they say, cabinet solidarity. So debate is fantastic in football in particular. So it might be the leadership team or the coach or the GM of footy or the CEO, wherever is part of your football committee, hammer it out. But then as soon as we leave that room,
we're all together.
Yeah.
And so that's a big part. And it's probably been throughout this year, we've seen different versions of that, whether it's spilled out into the media or whatnot. But
yep,
a few high-level themes for you there, Warren.
There you go. Max, goal kicking. What has happened to the art of goal kicking in the AFL? What was once such a simple part of the game looks to completely confuse modern-day footballers. Why do people opt to kick around the corner, particularly when they're outside of 40 metres? Routines seem to have gone completely out of the game. Is that because they don't place a big enough focus on it at training? You can't win games if you don't kick goals.
There's a bit in this answer. Yeah. Right. The game's got harder in terms of running capacity and fatigue levels when you're actually getting your shot on goal. 2, there's a shot clock now, so there's less time to gather your breath, go through routine. You've got to do it more rushed is probably the best way to put it. And 3, probably the statistics and technological advancement of the whole game. You look at snapping. Some players are just better at snapping. Yep. I was terrible at it, but I know some players that are far better snaps than they are drop punts. statistically, if you map that across goal kicking practice, some of them are actually better off snapping at certain spots. So there's been this build-in. If you think about a snap, you actually, by the time you take 3 or 4 steps, the angle gets less, percentages of goal kicked goes up. So there's been a shift towards that for a number of players.
More players are taking shots.
More players are taking shots. So it's not just your full forward that's a professional goal kicker only these days. So there's a lot in it. Routines and another thing, I think our concentration levels is with modern technology is lower. So some players don't like to get into that version as much. But I always laugh and listen to so many people bemoan about the snap and why players go for the snap, and so many players are just so good at it these days. They're better off doing it. They're more efficient at it.
Thanks for your question, Max. Thanks, everyone, for sending your questions through. You can always send them through to us, of course, Eddie and Jimmy at tapmedia.com.au. And thanks always to you, Doc.
Thanks, Jim.
We'll talk to you tomorrow with our predictions for the round ahead. Follow Eddie and Jimmy wherever you get your good and bad podcasts. Find us on Instagram and YouTube. Just search for Eddie and Jimmy. Thanks, everyone.